A very warm welcome to Survive and Thrive, your conference and social gathering, a great opportunity for networking. My name is William Toff. I'm a professor of cardiology at the University of Leicester, and my main interests are in heart rhythm disturbances, implanted cardiac devices and so on, and community resuscitation. And I'm going to be chairing this session with my colleague Tom Keeble, who's a consultant cardiologist at the Essex Cardiothoracic Centre and in Southend, and he has a keen interest in coronary intervention, cardiology, clinical trials and novel technology research, and has long been working in the field of cardiac arrest and improving the care of people who suffer cardiac arrest. So first of all, I'd like to thank the trustees, and the trustees would like to thank you for all being here today. Here they all are. Hopefully you'll meet them during the course of the day. Paul is the chair of Southern Cardiac Arrest UK. Gareth has been absolute powerhouse in leading the organisation of this conference, along with Charlotte, Stuart and Tom. So first, some housekeeping. There are no fire alarms. If you hear a fire alarm, then you need to make your way to the exit of this suite, and assistance will be available from the yellow shirted brigade if required. Tea and coffee, something's gone slightly wrong with my animation there, but tea and coffee will be served at table. So if you'd like tea and coffee, please fill in the form. There's a form on your tables, looks a bit like this. If you could fill that in by 10:30, it's a bit like hanging the sign outside your room. Tea and coffee will be delivered. But there is no coffee break because lunch is relatively early. Throughout the day, there'll be a question bucket being passed around. If you've got any questions and you don't want to stand up and ask them at the time, by all means, drop a question in the bucket. Drop any comments in the bucket, any feedback that you want to give about the meeting or anything in general. There'll also be raffle tickets on sale at £5 a strip, and an array of wonderful prizes outside you probably saw as you came in. Also to say, there is a quiet room in room 29, which you'll find on the plan. Throughout the morning and afternoon sessions, if you just feel it's a bit too much, you just want to have some downtime, time out, just make your way to the quiet room and relax. Lunch will be served between 12:10 and 1:20, and according to your lanyard colour, your lunch destination will be determined. So basically, if you have a purple or blue lanyard, lunch will be in the main dining room. If you have a black lanyard, lunch will be in the cedar room. Please take the opportunity to visit the stands in the area outside the registration area and purchase any merchandise that takes your fancy. There is photography throughout the day. There'll be still photographs being taken by Andrew Butler, who you can see in blue t-shirt, standing by the door, and the proceedings are being video recorded. If for any reason you don't want your images to be used in any publicity or on the website or in presentations, if you could please let one of the organisers know, just go to the registration desk and they'll point you in the right direction, so we can just make sure that you don't appear in any photographs if you don't want to. Otherwise, it'll be assumed that you're content to be seen as part of this renegade bunch today. I should say that Andrew is the ideal photographer for this occasion. Andrew is himself a cardiac arrest survivor, and you can see him here after his cardiac arrest with his partner Karen, showing just how good the quality of life can be after cardiac arrest if you get it right. Some more thank yous. I'd like to thank the organising committee. As I say, Gareth Cole has been the powerhouse, ably assisted by Paul, Charlotte, Stuart, Tom and Carl. So thanks to all of them. Around the room you'll see a lot of yellow t-shirts. That's Ellie's Army, the Yellow T-Shirt Brigade. Ellie Good, who works at the Essex Cardiothoracic Centre, leads this merry band. I'd like to also thank the speakers, the sponsors, the hotel, who've done a great job with the organisational support. And I'd like to thank Anne Jolly and John Jolly from SADS UK, who've been stalwart supporters of SCA UK since its inception. They've been there from the start, initially providing funding, but all manner of support, and they still provide the counselling support that SCA UK offers. So thank you to them. Particularly like to thank our sponsors. Meetings like this can't just happen without some funding. So Rapid Response Revival, Cell AED are the platinum sponsors for this event, and other sponsors include Abbott St Jude, Boston Scientific, Cardio Novum, Edwards Life Sciences, Autus Technology, SMT and Terumo Medical. Thank you to all of them. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. So why are we all here? We're all here, the background, if you like, is sudden cardiac arrest. Some of you will know a lot about that, having had some personal experience of it one way or another. Everyone in this room has some interest in it for one reason or another, but just to sort of go through the basics, just to set the scene, as it were. A cardiac arrest is when the electrical activation of the heart malfunctions, it fails for some reason. The heart stops pumping effectively, there's no blood circulating in the body, no oxygen getting to the brain or vital organs, and death will ensue if it's not treated immediately. And not all heart rhythm disturbances of cardiac arrest are amenable to shock, but the majority are if you get there early enough. And early defibrillation is then the key, and many of you will have had the benefit of early defibrillation, and that's why you're here today. You can see here that the ECG of ventricular fibrillation, which is this chaotic, rapid, disorganized rhythm of the heart's just quivering like a bag of worms, and what it needs is a defibrillating shock across the chest, basically to reset the heart. You can see ventricular fibrillation here, the shock's delivered, there's a bit of electrical silence, and then the normal heartbeat cuts in. And I'm sure many here today will be thankful that they demonstrated this in person. The key is time. So with every minute after cardiac arrest, with every minute of delay before a defibrillating shock is given, the chance of survival decreases by between 7 and 10%. So by several minutes, there's been a significant erosion of the chance of a good outcome. But the good news is that chest compressions, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, can buy extra time and increase the chance of survival 2 to 3-fold wherever you are on that graph. It's a common problem, cardiac arrest, occurring in the community. There are about 80,000 events every year in the UK. And often this is the first sign of heart disease, and some of you will testify to this, that there's been no prior cardiac history. The first symptom is cardiac arrest, and that can be in as many as half of the people affected. Over half of the events that occur in the community are witnessed by bystanders. It's very difficult if there's no witness there to see a good outcome. But if there is a bystander, that bystander knowing how to recognize and respond to a cardiac arrest can be the difference between life and death. Unfortunately, this is a very recent survey that's been done by the British Heart Foundation, I think, the finding was that less than 45% of the public, even now, feel confident to perform CPR. And it's particularly important because most of these events, 70 to 80%, happen in the home. So you can't rely on other people. We all need to know how to do CPR, how to recognize and respond to cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, because of the poor bystander response and because of the poor availability or limited availability of defibrillators in the community, survival is currently less than 10%. So only 1 in 10 people will walk away from a cardiac arrest alive. So if one kind of thinks of a room 10 times this size, this should be a celebration that there are so many survivors in this room. But for every survivor, there are 9 people who didn't survive. And that's an absolute scandal, because we know that we could increase the survival rate 3 to 4-fold at least if we did what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is that we need to change the current culture. The culture at the moment is one of unresponsiveness. This is a bit of a caricature, but I have a video of somebody collapsing on the London Underground, and the train passes between 2 stations and nobody steps in to do anything. Somebody's just lying unconscious. And that's what we need to change. And we need to change it by training everybody how to recognise and respond to cardiac arrest, starting in schools, but also in the wider community. And we need to increase the availability of defibrillators. There's a defibrillator in the reception of the hotel. There's a defibrillator by that fire extinguisher on the left. So we're well protected here. But mostly people don't know where their nearest defibrillator is, and that is one of the reasons for the very poor survival. I co-founded a charity called Heartwise almost 10 years ago to teach resuscitation skills in schools. And Heartwise is mainly active in Leicestershire and Rutland, but also in Essex, where my co-chair Tom Keeble leads it. And Heartwise basically goes into schools and ensures that every school leaver in the county has been trained with the requisite skills. We're also now working increasingly with businesses and in the wider community to spread the word. There are sessions today if you want to avail yourself of refresh your CPR skills or acquire them if you don't yet have them. In the Shrewsbury room, there are organised sessions you can sign up for between 10:50 and 12:10, unfortunately overlapping with the sessions, and again this afternoon between 2 and 3:20. If you just want to drop by, you can have a one-to-one session anytime you like. Some people don't want to train in a group. If you just want to drop by, you can have some training whenever you want during the day. The team are on hand. Banging the drum for Heartwise a little bit. Heartwise is actually an award-winning charity. In 2016, we were awarded a Heart Safe Award, and then 2017 recognised the Education Team of the Year by the BMJ. And this has been a good week for Heartwise. A few days ago, Heartwise was a finalist in the Leicestershire Community Champions Awards as Charity of the Year. One of our volunteers, who's here today, Phoebe Tomes, was recognised as Volunteer of the Year. And earlier this week, it was announced that Heartwise has been awarded the King's Award for Voluntary Service, which is the highest award any voluntary organisation can receive in the UK. So, turning back to cardiac arrest. I used to work for the Civil Aviation Authority, doing research and other things, and the Chief Medical Officer was a very wise old pilot and doctor, and he once took me aside and he said, you know, there are 2 sorts of pilot. They're the ones who've landed with the landing gear up, and they're the ones who haven't landed with the landing gear up yet. And that's how I think of cardiac arrest. A lot of you in this room have experienced cardiac arrest. I haven't, but I just see myself as a potential cardiac arrest victim, as everybody else should, and make sure we're all protected. Make sure that your family and friends know how to do CPR on you if you need it. Know where your nearest defibrillator is. As I say, I haven't yet had a cardiac arrest, but talking to cardiac arrest survivors and looking at the literature, about 9 out of 10 people don't really have any recollection of the moment of their cardiac arrest. But one might imagine the other 10% describe various sort of near-death experiences, and one might imagine that having a cardiac arrest and surviving is a little bit like this. This is the Bolivian salt plains, and this is sort of amazing vista where it seems that heaven meets earth. And to my rather fanciful notion, in some respects, that must be what it's like to survive a cardiac arrest, even if you don't actually remember the joy of the trip. The reality is that when people get back from the trip, it often wasn't such a great thing after all. It's pretty miserable for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people it's okay. But the health service and the medical profession in general has been negligent in really not attending to the problems that people face after cardiac arrest. And the common response when you see a GP and say, I'm not feeling right, or, you know, I feel really low, or whatever it is, you know, my memory seems a bit off, or I get tired easily. GP says, well, what do you expect? You had a cardiac arrest. And there isn't really, hasn't been until recently, any support for the physical problems, the psychological issues, and the innumerable life issues, the practical issues that I'm sure many of you here will be familiar with. And so what we need to do, you'll be familiar with the chain of survival, the first 4 links, how to survive a cardiac arrest. But as Gareth Cole pointed out, from the medical profession's point of view, that's the end of the chain of survival for most people. And with the work of Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK, this 5th link in the chain, which is every bit as important, if not more important, is improving the quality of that survival. And that's being achieved by what Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK has achieved in the past decade, and by the work going on in the care team led by Tom Keeble from Essex particularly, but now trying to make this a nationally available resource. And one of the ways that this can be made to happen is with meetings like this. And this is the 3rd meeting, bringing people together just to share experiences, to identify unmet need, and to start to try and address those needs, and just to sort of network with kindred spirits, share experiences and chat. But this is the 3rd meeting. The first meeting was in Essex. I've been privileged to be at all 3. This is 2018 at the Essex Cardiothoracic Centre. Then the next year we had the Not Alone conference, which was held in Rutland. And this is the 3rd conference. And if it's anything like the first 2, you're going to have a really great day. The feedback from the first 2 has been fantastic. We've got a fantastic array of speakers lined up today. I won't go through them all. They're all on the programme. And we're going to press on with that in a moment. But first of all, I'd just like to say that Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK, it didn't just happen. It's been fashioned over 10 years, initiated by Paul Swindell, who's the chair of Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. He lit a touch paper and he's carried it forward for almost a decade, and he's recruited some fantastic supporters who are all here today. And this amazing effort was recognised last week at an international cardiology conference of the American Heart Association in Philadelphia, where Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK was awarded the Ian G. Jacobs Award. Ian Jacobs was a giant of resuscitation science. Unfortunately, he died suddenly in 2014. But in his honour, this award was set up. And this is actually the first time that this award, I believe it's the first time this award's been given to a non-medical person or organisation. And they awarded this extremely prestigious award to Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. And this is the citation: survivorship has growing importance in resuscitation science, and this group has developed important infrastructure to support survivors and families that serves as a role model for global efforts towards improved quality of life after cardiac arrest. So the reach of this thing is global. The award was received by Tom Keeble and Gareth Cole, who went out to Philadelphia. Unfortunately, Paul himself, the mastermind, as it were, wasn't able to attend. But the award would not have been possible, Sudden Cardiac Arrest would not have been possible without the commitment and the dedication that Paul has shown over 10 years. He's a remarkable person. He's so unassuming and modest, and won't tell you anything about the stuff that he does behind the scenes that makes this happen. I think it's entirely right and proper that since Paul wasn't able to attend to receive the award in Philadelphia, I take the privilege of asking Paul to come up now and receive the award on behalf of Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK.